Good evening and welcome to the World Now at 4 on Hills TV. I am Uduak Daniel. First, let's talk the headlines. And on the headlines, federal government approves digitization of National Social Insurance Trust Fund, that is the NSITF. Still on the headlines, Senegal's opposition leader calls for another mega protest. Also on the headlines, Germany takes step closer to gas rationing. And now the news in detail. The federal government of Nigeria has approved the digitization of the services of the National Social Insurance Trust Fund, that is the NSITF, which is now to be known as the ENSITF. This was approved by the FEC, that is FEC, on Wednesday in a meeting presided by President Muhammadu Buhari at the Council Chamber of the State House, Abuja. Labour Minister Chris Ngige announced the press briefing on Wednesday evening as Minister disclosed that the plans to digitize the NSITF was in the line with the federal government's policy on ease of doing business. Meanwhile, the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Chief Ni Adebayo, disclosed that the FEC approved the for passage. The proposed law is to repeal the Produce Enforcement of Standards Act 2004, which is currently in place in Lagos, but now the new bill will cover the whole country, and that the new law also makes provision for the establishment of laboratories in 5 geopolitical zones in the country, in addition to the one its National Executive Council that is NEC meeting at the Teachers' House, Lugbe, Abuja. The NUT Deputy National President Calvin Okonkwo said the sack followed refusal by the president and some teachers to write a competency test by the president and other sacked teachers in the state. NUT, which noted that about 21,780 teachers were dismissed or retired in 2018, said the recent sack was one too many. In another development, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, said the present administration has so far reimbursed state governments to the tune of 447 billion naira for expenses incurred on federal government's projects. Addressing correspondents at the end of the Federal Executive Council, that is FEC, at the Presidential Villa Abuja on Wednesday, he said the release was the first tranche of such reimbursements. Mohammed gave a breakdown of the amounts of such reimbursements by some of the states, stressing that the reimbursement was for projects implemented before the coming of the present administration. According to him, most of the beneficiaries are opposition states, indicating that the Buhari's Adeleye has revealed that some of the suspects involved in the June 5 terror attack at St. Francis Catholic Church, Owo, have been apprehended. According to Adeleye, the vehicle that the gunmen used to escape from the scene of the attack had also been retrieved, as well as some of the instruments used. The Amotekun commander disclosed this while parading the 71 suspected criminals at the command's headquarters on Thursday. Adeleye, who did not give the actual figure of the suspects arrested in connection with the attack, assured that all those involved in the attack would be tracked down. He noted that investigation is still ongoing and that the perpetrators of this terror attack in Owo will never go unpunished. When we return, news from other parts of Africa. Don't go away. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is The World Now at 4 on Hills TV. Senegal's opposition leader has called for a fresh demonstration to be held on June 29, despite the previous one banned and the ensuing clashes, leaving 3 dead. Ousmane Sonko, who came third in the latest presidential election, also called on citizens to bang pots and pans in protest on Wednesday. Tensions have been growing since Senegal's highest court on June 3 upheld the decision to disqualify the national list on a technicality. Sonko and other opposition figures that had been on the list are now sidelined from the July 31 election. The opposition threatened to prevent the vote from taking place if the list is not reinstated, raising fears that tensions could spill over. He also called on supporters to bang pots on their balconies or honk their cars or horns for 10 minutes on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Away from that story, the government of Guinea-Bissau has suspended the mayor of the capital, Bissau, for alleged corruption in a land sale and failure to pay employee pensions, officials have said. Mayor Louis Tachama had been in office since April 2021. He is a member of the Social Renewal Party, that is the PRS, a formation belonging to the presidential coalition, whose leaders are in friction with the camp of the head of state, Umaro Sissoco Embalo. Tachama is accused of deliberate acts of corruption in the distribution of public land, the non-payment of pensions to municipal workers, and the unfair suspension of municipal employees, according to an order by the Minister of Territorial Administration, Fernando Gomez. The mayor was suspended along with two of his collaborators, his first deputy and the Secretary General of the municipal institution. Mr. Tachama was replaced by Fernando Mendez, a member of a party belonging to the presidential camp. We now move to other parts of the world after this break. Don't go away. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Still talking the news, European leaders have formally accepted Ukraine as a candidate to join in the EU, a bold geopolitical move triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but a reminder that a 27-nation bloc will need a major overhaul as it looks to enlarge again. Although it could take Ukraine and neighboring Moldova more than a decade to qualify for membership, the two-day EU summit's decision will be a symbolic step that signals the bloc's intention to reach deep into the former Soviet Union. The move will kickstart the EU's most ambitious expansion since welcoming Eastern European states after the Cold War. Behind the triumphant rhetoric, however, there is concern within the EU about how the bloc can remain coherent as it continues to enlarge. Bringing you more stories, Prince Charles laid a wreath on Wednesday at a memorial to the 1994 genocide in Rwanda during the first visit to the country by a British royal. The Prince of Wales and his wife Camilla posted silent tributes at the Kigali Genocide Memorial, the final resting place for more than 250,000 victims of the massacres almost 3 decades ago. The royal couple also signed a note of remembrance to accompany a wreath of white flowers. They also spoke with survivors of the genocide, in which some 800,000, mainly Tutsi people, were murdered by Hutsi extremist forces over about 100 days between April and July 1994. Housing skulls, bone fragments and shreds of clothing, the memorial is a confronting testimony to the horrors of the genocide and a customary stop for foreign dignitaries visiting Rwanda. Charles and Camilla also toured a memorial museum where they viewed photographs of the victims and their possessions and heard personal testimonials about the killings. The royal couple touched down late Tuesday in Rwanda, where the Prince of Wales is representing his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, at the Commonwealth Summit this week. Rwanda, a former German and Belgian colony, joined the Commonwealth in 2000. Slovenians are experiencing a brutal rise in maximum temperatures by 24 Celsius over most parts of northwestern and central India this week. Maximum temperatures in the month were the highest in 122 years. Heat waves also began setting in during the month. Meanwhile, Naresh Kumar, a senior scientist at IMD, attributes the current heat wave to local atmospheric factors. The heat has also triggered an increase in power demand, leading to outages in many states and fears of a coal shortage. Modi, in the meantime, flagged the increased risk of fires due to rising temperatures. Coming right up next on The World Now at 4 is Business News. Welcome back to The World Now at 4 on Hills TV. And let's talk business. According to a report by the National Bureau of Statistics, the price of kerosene went up by 86.94% in 1 year. Primary cooking fuels, kerosene and liquefied petroleum gas, otherwise referred to as cooking gas, consumers in May 2022 increased by 15.21% on a month-on-month basis from 589 naira 82 kobo in April 2022 to 679 naira 54 kobo in May 2022. The state profile analysis showed that the highest average price per litre in May 2022 was recorded in Enugu with 868 naira 75 kobo, followed by Ebonyi with 861 naira 11 kobo and Imo with 801 naira 67 kobo. On the other hand, the lowest price was recorded in Bayelsa with 558 naira 06 kobo, followed by Yobe with 601 naira 30 retail price per litre of household kerosene with 773.09 naira, followed by the Southwest with 738.19 naira and the North Central with 668.78 naira, while the Northeast recorded the lowest with 632.06 naira. Also, in a separate report titled Liquefied Petroleum Gas, that is cooking gas, Price Watch, the NBS said the average retail price for cooking gas has increased by 89.28% from 0.6 in May 2021. Still talking business, oil marketers have urged the federal government to put an end to the monopolistic privilege enjoyed by the NPC. Currently enjoys monopoly on importation and supply of petroleum products According to chairman of the association, Olumide Adeosun, the current scarcity of petrol was occasioned by supply inadequacies in the last few weeks, as well as distribution challenges created by the unavailability and continuous surge in international prices of automotive gas oil, that is diesel. It also recommended that the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources, in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance and other relevant MDAs, set up a task force immediately focusing on increasing diesel supply through accelerated initiatives to increase local modular refining capacity. Talking business was this time outside the shores. Major Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa is holding its annual summit on Thursday, but without much fanfare or huge expectations. Talks will also be held in a virtual format for the third consecutive year. The last two were held during the COVID pandemic, but it's not clear why the leaders chose to skip face-to-face meetings this year. It is in contrast with a Quad which groups India with Australia, Japan and the US, whose leaders met in person in Japan last month amid the global media glare. Some analysts say that this is also partly due to the fact that BRICS hasn't really lived up to expectations over the years. When it was formed in 2009, the group was expected to reshape the global economy and create a new financial order.
Good evening and welcome to Sport News on World Now at 4. I am Memo Cynthia Asoya. The federal government of Nigeria has rescinded its decision to withdraw Nigeria from all international basketball engagements, a decision that was taken following the crisis bedeviling the running of the sports in the country. Two factions led by Musa Kida and Mark Igoche has led claim to that held in two different locations, Benin and Abuja. President Muhammadu Buhari on May 12 approved the immediate withdrawal of Nigeria from all international basketball competitions for a period of 2 years. What this immediately meant was that Nigeria's female basketball team, the TIGRESS, who had qualified for the Women's Basketball World Cup holding later this year in Australia, would not be able to do so. But in a statement on Thursday, the federal government reversed the decision as a result of a letter from the faction led by Musa Kida asking the minister to approach the president for the reversal of the 2-year withdrawal of Nigeria from international basketball competitions. The Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Youth and Sport Development, Ismaila Abubakar, who disclosed this at a news conference in Abuja, said the letter also suggested that a high-power team be set up to reconcile all contending parties in the basketball family at home and abroad. Genk has set a new price tag of £17 million for Nigerian international Paul Onuachu during this summer transfer. The former Belgian champions managed to keep their most prized asset from leaving last season, but are now preparing for life after the Super Eagles striker. Following his impressive performance from last season, Onuachu, who scored 23 goals and made 3 assists in 43 games, has been linked with top European clubs with West Ham, Sevilla and Benfica, believing to be leading the chase for the striker. According to reports, the 28-year-old has been listed among players wanted by West Ham and Tottenham. Genk coach Wouter Rankin also revealed that he was unsure of Onuachu's stay at the club ahead of the new season. And that's Sport News on World Now at 4. Back to Udwak for the rest of the news. I am Memo Cynthia Asoya.